Welcome to our program. Nice to meet you, Mr. Chairman. As we know that climate change is not a threat. It's not a theory. Actually, it's a threat already. And we experienced the hottest May and June this year. And reporting says that the temperature of the globe has been rising. And could you just share with your insight or ideas how the rising temperature will affect the business around the world, or specifically in Taiwan or Asia?
What you see now is temperatures starting to approach 1.5 degrees, which actually is the target of the Paris Agreement. We have to see that through a period of 12 years to be certain that temperatures has risen to 1.5 degrees. And if you take the current state of the negotiations of the national plans to achieve the Paris Agreement, we are still approaching temperatures between 2 and 3 degrees higher than is expected. So what we see now might only be the beginning of those effects of climate change. And of course it has effects, various effects on business. It has effects on the way you operate your business. There are various risks associated with having operations various places in the world that is affected by more storms, more outbreaks of stoppage of electricity supply, etc. You have more pressure from consumer groups, especially the younger generations, that demands more sustainable products, etc. And then, of course, you will see more regulation coming on board over the years to adhere to operations that are sustainable.
In other words, that we face risk and opportunity at the same time, right?
Yes, of course. There will be winners here. When you have a major change, are the ones that are able to transition, and not just sort of the basic transition in going net zero, making sure that you don't emit too much carbon, etc., but also use the change to develop new products and new services that are more sustainable and are more attuned to a new green economy that will eventually come.
A lot of countries just introduce their own net zero target.
Yeah.
And I think that's unstoppable trends around the world. Could you just share with your insights on what is the latest develops on the net zero trends or development in your idea?
Well, I'm from a country that is known to be one of the most sustainable countries in the world, also probably the most ambitious at the moment, where we have decided on a climate law. So Denmark have to, by law, reach a reduction of 70% in this decade. And one of the things that has been done there is very strong partnerships between business and government, sector by sector, transport, buildings, etc., on how they jointly can reach net zero. That's one clear example. I would say that other examples include application of various parameters that make sure that you know where you are, that you know where you get to, use what you call science-based targets.
Exactly.
And it's very important, I think, that business and of course also government use science-based targets also to ensure that, or to avoid greenwashing. And then also go through actually a step-by-step plan, what you call transition plans. So there is a new fashion word in climate. It's how do you transition, right?
Energy transitions, business transitions. We got to transform our way of living to achieve the net zero target.
And then I would say deeper than that, what you see is that you speculate more systemically about how you can actually make that transition. If again, take an example, not to praise my home country all the time, but there are some strong examples. For example, that our national energy company was basically an oil and gas company. It was called the Danish Oil and Gas Company before, has totally converted into becoming a renewable energy, one of the largest wind turbine operators in the world. And how can you do that? Well, it is still an energy operator. And energy operations is very much alike, whether it's in fossil fuels or it's renewable energy.
Yeah.
So it's that systemic thinking that you need to get into.
One of, I think, regulation will be introduced in the aim to help the reductions of emission is a carbon pricing mechanism. Could you just give us your ideas how the carbon pricing mechanisms will work on the climate change or control the rising temperature? Do you think how regulations, the role of regulations in the whole climate change challenge?
First of all, I think that we need to put a price on carbon, and I don't think personally we will achieve the Paris Agreement unless we get a price on carbon.
Okay.
Then you ask about how do you put a price on carbon? There's basically two main methods. There is a tax on carbon, as what you call a pollution tax on carbon, or there are what you have emission trading systems where you define how much can you emit, and then those who emit too much can buy the license from others. So a cap and trading system, as you call. I think that you have to look at this as a very complicated system, almost like developing a new type of currency. And you know how many years it took the world to start working with monetary systems, and it's still developing. So we just have to see this as a very big task. And what's most important when you look at the market today is to work on it being a well-governed system, a reliable system. And many of the big corporations that we work with, I think they rather pay more for something that they can rely on and that is trustworthy. So I think that building trust in that system is very important.
Is there any concerns that when the carbon pricing mechanism introduced, they will raise the cost of the productions, or will incur some inflations in the future?
Of course, there are concerns. Then the question is whether those concerns are real. It all depends. I do think that often, when you look back in history, how you can change very fast is incredible, and how you can adjust your cost base. And maybe it's a way of using less resources. So I think there are many ways where you also can counter those potential cost increases. And
we know that CBAM and the European Union's carbon pricing mechanism will go into effect on the 2027, which is a worry Taiwan business, because we are exporters to a lot of things, probably will influenced by the CBAMs. And do you have any advice for those companies which probably will be affected by the CBAMs or others carbon pricing mechanism? Just like we said, it's probably a risk or challenge, but it's also opportunity, right?
Yes, it's an opportunity. First of all, I think it will come, and you can see the EU is a leader in all these aspects, right? And typically there will be some copying of those things. So I think that you have to sort of accept it or go along with it, but of course also make sure that you adjust your operations to sort of mirror what is the intention with the CBAM system. But again, I mean, I think it's a world that will come. What are the opportunities? How can you adjust your cost base, the way you produce things, etc., and maybe even turn that into an opportunity.
Opportunity and a new competitiveness.
So I just heard yesterday that ASUS is making its first net zero computer, etc. So, and I think the first one in the world. So things like that unleash the innovation power to see how can you move your product production and your products and services to become even more towards net zero.
It's double-edged sword for the carbon pricing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know you're a regular visitor in Taiwan. You've been in Taiwan many times.
Yeah.
Could you just give Taiwanese company or Taiwanese business some advice especially on the threat of the global warming? So how can we deal with the challenge of the climate change?
I think that being here and working closely with key partners from Taiwan, from the business side and from the university side, etc. I think that you have some clear advantages in that you have some sectors where you could take a lead. For example, in the whole supply chain, looking at how can you use circular economy thinking in reducing cost and also be a leader in that field. And I think that the opportunity here is not to be a laggard, but to be the ones that are really pushing this development, because it will come. That many companies here are actually a little bit too modest and could show more what they're trying to what they're aiming to do. A lot of development in terms of climate solutions is also in the software AI space, where I also believe there must be a lot of potential coming out of Taiwan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for sharing your insights and your opportunities and your advice to Taiwan business. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.